some of the fiercest warriors against so-called communism during the Vietnam War, whose majority of his soldiers was under the age of 16. Recruited, trained, and supplied by the CIA, abandoned by the American government, to be hunted down, murdered, and thrown into concentration camps. What was the CIA's secret war in Laos? And who are the Hmong people? Let's get into it.
A lot of attrition among the Hmong soldiers. It got so bad that at one time General Vang Pao had to send out the order that all students, male, up to the age of 11 were exempt from going in the army. But if you were 11 years old, you were drafted and you ended up in the Hmong army. I went out to the airstrip one day and saw a group of soldiers around a body. It was a very small body. Talked to a little boy next to it. He was 12 years old, and he was dressed in a uniform that was about 3 times too big. He was Hmong, but he knew Lao. And he said, "That is my friend, Li Cao. He and I both joined the army a year ago when he was 10 and I was 11. And he was killed this week, and I am flying back with his body to the village that he came with." His rifle accompanied him, a small carbine suitable for that of a boy. The larger rifles went to taller, more grown-up men. But a helicopter or a plane picked up the body, and they picked up the gun, flew them back to the village. He was buried, and his carbine was then handed to the next boy that took his place in the Hmong army.
This could be the last bird.
Everybody was focused on running to the back end of that C-130. Nobody else knew that once the general was gone, the air evacuation was going to end.
It took 1 hour and 20 minutes to make the trip. We're not sure that Hillary is going to Lisbon or Nampon.
By chance, one of the American C-46s, the radios had gone out, and so he didn't hear the message that the general was gone, abort, abort, the evacuation is over. So he went in.
Okay, the aircraft is filled now, but the people won't leave the rear of it.
Many of the people said that they could barely breathe because of the pressure of the people that were standing all around them.
Matt has revved up the engines and pulled ahead a little bit, and the blast has sort of discouraged some of them. They're starting to move away a little bit.
They also said it was so noisy, so chaotic, with the engines and people talking, yelling to their family members that were still outside, trying to find their kids. But once that airplane took off, it was dead silence. He was the last plane, but he was so mobbed that the plane was only about half full when he took off and learned that that was it. The evacuation was over. 10,000 people standing on the runway, looking up at the sky, waiting for the next plane to come, and it never did.
Before we get into the actual fighting of the secret war, let's discuss what made the Hmong so attractive to the CIA. For starters, I had a very hard time tracking down any hard facts about their origins, and kept running into roadblocks about their history being destroyed, now relying heavily on oral tradition. So if any Hmong would like to share your origin stories, please do so in the comments below. What I could discover is that the Hmong history is one filled with war, bloodshed, and separation. By the time of the breakout of the Vietnam War, the Hmong in Laos lived in remote villages, hidden deep within the mountains and jungles. They grew mainly rice and poppy, had no ties to any government or political system, and were fierce in their convictions of independence and freedom. The perfect ingredients for creating an elite guerrilla force. The CIA's recruitment of the Hmong. The CIA would begin recruiting the Hmong people as early as 1961. But the Hmong would not be used heavily in warfare until after 1962, when the Geneva Accords stated that all foreign troops must leave Laos. At this time, General Van Pao will be recruited as the CIA's face for the Hmong forces in Laos. Van Pao was loved by the Hmong community and was able to push American propaganda of anti-communism and pro-democracy to the Hmong people. He also promised them a bright new future, one where their children can be educated and where they could live free without fear. When this didn't inspire enough recruitment because the men still had to work the farms to feed their families, the CIA began to directly fund recruits. The Hmong's main objectives was to disrupt enemy supply lines, rescue downed pilots, and scout for POWs. Most recruits would only receive 3 days of guerrilla warfare training before having to go into the field. And as the casualties grew, the soldiers got younger and younger.
And recruited Hmong General Vang Pao to assist. For 15 years, Vang Pao and his Hmong guerrillas fought alongside the Americans.
They understood the region because that's where they lived. The topography, they knew the routes, the geography very well. And they were also very anti-communist, and they were fighting to protect their family. It was called a secret war only because the U.S. wasn't supposed to be there. The idea that this was a secret war it's only secret to the rest of American society, right? It was only a secret because, these government officials weren't acknowledging it, right? But we spent millions of dollars that Congress appropriated for Laos. Some of it geared, under the facade of economic or humanitarian support.
There was this incredible outpouring of grief. It's like this human symphony. I'll never forget it. It'll be with me to my grave, the sound of that. It's all I can hear when I look at this picture. It was just awful.
In early 2003, photojournalist Philip Blenkinsop made a tragic discovery in the middle of the jungle, stumbling upon the CIA's long-abandoned secret army in the Xaizongbun Special Zone of Laos.
We were the first white faces that these people had seen since they were abandoned by the Americans. They thought that those days of living in fear and being on the run had finished.
12,000 veteran fighters. Their women and children had been clashing with Laotian communist troops for the last 30 years. Now, they want out.
One of those downed pilots was Milwaukee resident Bob Curry.
I got shot down. The pilot I was with was killed. And when I landed, there was a firefight going on, and I knew it was all over because we were in Laos. I mean, the only people with guns down here were the North Vietnamese. And then it was the Hmong that came down. They had lost 3 or 4. There was a small group of 12 up on a hilltop, and they rescued me.
American forces ended up withdrawing from Laos, Vietnam, and all of the countries in Southeast Asia. I can't really say whether it was right or wrong to withdraw from Southeast Asia, but I feel that it was wrong to leave the Hmong people behind. It's wrong to leave behind a group of people that the government wants to exterminate. Nobody wanted them, and we did not help them. They had to fend for themselves, and that wasn't right.
My final thoughts on the secret war and the Hmong people. To me, it's obvious that the CIA used the Hmong's history of being outcast against them, against other Asian people. This war was only a secret to the American public, and Congress allocated millions of dollars in funds for this war. I don't know if it was General Vang Pao or if it was the CIA's idea, but whoever decided to use children was immensely evil. I don't know how the Hmong feel about Vang Pao, but any leader that advocates for the use of children in a war, while at the same time says he wants a better future for his people, is obviously lying. Because by using children, you put that beautiful future at risk. And what leader leaves behind his people to suffer and die? Just an all-around messed up situation.